Aristotle believes that the development of communities and cities is a natural development. He says, quote, "Every city, therefore, exists by nature." And with regard to the first communities, quote, "The city is their end, and nature is an end." Humans are meant to be social creatures by nature. Thus, to live in a city is to be living in accordance with nature. This might strike our modern sensibilities as contradictory, since we tend to contrast nature with cities and human communities. The latter are thought to represent different forms of civilization, which is the contrastive term to nature. Aristotle, however, disagrees. The development of cities is simply an extension and fulfillment of the natural design. Only in communities can people fully develop their capacities as human beings. Law is not to be conceived as something unnatural, a mere human convention that's oppressive to human nature. On the contrary, law is necessary for the natural development of human beings. In connection with Sophocles, we discussed the idea of natural law, that is, a prohibition that was not simply the result of arbitrary custom, but was grounded in nature itself. Aristotle falls in this tradition of natural law thinking. His approach is, in some ways, very much like that of a biologist or zoologist. He looks at human beings as just one of many forms of animals in nature, albeit a very special kind of animal. When he says in a passage we quoted before that man is a political animal, zoon politikon, this is not just a metaphor used for literary effect. The word animal is important. Thus, just like the animals, humans are in many ways determined by nature. Nature also determines how humans live together. While Aristotle is, of course, also interested in custom and convention, his main concern is with what he regards as the enduring fixed terms of nature. Aristotle observes that the concept of justice, dike, is one that's necessarily bound up with social life. To speak of some action being just or unjust implies the actions of human beings. Similarly, concepts such as virtue, honor, also imply a relation to other people. This again underscores Aristotle's notion of humans as fundamentally social creatures. Aristotle's conception of justice is bound up with the administration of law in a community, specifically a city. Justice is found in the correct application of good laws and principles in the context of civic life. Aristotle's thinking is teleological. The Greek word telos simply means goal or end, and so to call something teleological simply means that it's conceived as aiming towards a specific end. Aristotle believes that nature has designed things for a specific purpose, but it often takes time for this purpose to be fulfilled completely. Nature produces seeds and eggs, which eventually turn into specific plants and animals. Although they start as seeds and eggs, in their development they work towards a fully mature and complete organism, which can be regarded as their goal. Thus, when we look at any given phenomenon or sphere of activity, the first question should always be, what purpose is it aiming at? Once this is determined, then we can see to what extent it has fulfilled its purpose and how much still remains to be achieved. Thus, the idea of teleology is thought to have an explanatory power. Aristotle's conception of humans and cities as being natural developments raises important questions for the ongoing discussion about the relation of nature to human convention that we saw in the text from Herodotus, Thucydides, and Plato. As we've seen, the Greeks were keenly aware of the relativity of custom. This at times led to a cultural relativism that dismissed the value of any human construct. Aristotle represents an important challenge to this view. While human cities are, of course, constructed by human beings, his argument is that these are not arbitrary or conventional. Instead, his claim is that this is absolute, a fact of nature that transcends mere convention. He says, quote, "The city belongs among the things that exist by nature." This represents a new conception of the idea of nature that goes well beyond the usual view. Likewise, justice is not merely an arbitrary human condition, but rather something natural that appears in human societies.